Fashion Week well underway now. I thought it's about time I maybe to share some insights into working London Fashion Week, or in fact any fashion week, because there was a lot of information out there that talked about gear and stuff. But I think it's really important also to talk about the nuances that go on. So first of all, prepare for travel, and it is going to be busy. One of the things you can see is I'm sat here on the floor at this fashion show. I've done a few today. You can bring little stools with you. That's kind of expected. But you see there's other people sat around here, and you can see there's a lot of up, down, up, down. Now you can use a monopod. I prefer a monopod over a tripod. But one of the things I want to talk to you about is like what you don't see at the end of this runway, right where those bright lights are, is actually where another pit of photographers are. Now that was rammed, absolutely rammed, and I'll be blunt. You aren't going to get in that pit if, or even a decent spot if you are late. Now, I was super early, but luckily for me, I was asked if I could sit at this spot, which is directly opposite all these people. Now, you might think, Khandie, why are the lights there? When I show you these images, which I'll put up as I go through, you'll understand why it was such a nice spot. I didn't have to worry about getting a funny angle. And I have sat down on the floor, one, because the videographer for the show is right above me. I made good friends with him. He was a great guy. And the idea is just be mindful of where you're sitting and who's around you. You are going to notice also just over to the right of the image, every now and then a gentleman's going to eke in, and he's going to get more and more into the shots. He won't interrupt mine. I'm recording this all on my Insta 360 Go on my chest, so it doesn't bother me. You can see my camera's going up and down. This guy starts to get into other people's shots. Now he has a job to do as well, and it just starts. You can see the mood of people starting to get a little bit funny about it. He didn't bother me. I'm pretty chill. But let's talk about etiquette here. Right, no flash. Someone accidentally set the flash off, and everybody turned around, even the people from the on sitting down to watch the show. It is a huge distraction. It's very rare you're able to use flash. Also, keep your voices down, especially this is in a church, right? And one of the guys kept talking, and you could hear him, and it just became a bit of a distraction for other people. Keep your set as close as possible. Now, I'm very privileged that I get to spread out a little bit here, but keep yourself as small as possible. Some people bring a small backpack and put it between their legs. They sit on a stool that's very small and compact. Like, you have to be very careful. Now, I am shooting here f4 because I want everything in focus. I'm also shooting 1/320, 1/400 shutter speed, and my ISO is backed up. The reason is lighting is more for the visual of the viewer. These people who are sitting here, they don't necessarily think about lighting for the photographer. So don't be afraid to whack that ISO up. You are going to need extra batteries. I recommend not having them in your bag, but actually on your person. So I wear a crossbody bag. For me, when you want to shoot London Fashion Week, right, first of all, going into the runway is hard. I will say, just off to my left, who you can't actually see, occasionally you see their knee, is people shooting on pretty much a standard kit camera, like a beginner camera with, I don't like saying that, but you know what I mean, with kit lens. There is possibility for you to get into these shows. Look out for them. Look on Eventbrite, look on Instagram, get in the Facebook groups, like have a look, do some due diligence and do some workarounds. The other thing to remember is that you don't always have to shoot the shows for London Fashion Week or any fashion week. One thing that's really popular is the arrivals around the show. So find out where shows are. Again, sign up to the mailing list, do check websites, look on Instagram, right? And show up there and sit outside and take photos of people, like do the street style. And there's also people who just show up just for that. Also connect on social media, on Instagram. Maybe there's a content creator. I did this with a lady from Poland, a very famous fashion model, and she was like, Khandie, can you shoot me? I was like, yep, I got you, girl. And we did this a great shoot. I'll share more of that later in another video. But also, one of the tips is while the fashion show puts their main shows up, they're like, oh, this is what we're doing. They've got an itinerary. Be on the lookout for ones that aren't featured, that are perhaps just on social media, and you can find them through getting friends and making contacts, because it's a really good way for you to reach out, to find people to talk to and make connections. So in my bag, if you just see my little crossbody bag poking up there, I have my business cards, I have a pen, and I have a little notebook. I also have a battery recharger, what's it called? The portable battery things. I also keep batteries for my camera in that bag so I can get them in and out. Now, in my bag, this was shot only on a 24-70. You might think, oh, why? There was no need for a 70-200 here. The catwalk was very slow, and you see the girls literally, all the models literally stopped right in front of me. I am in an amazing situation here. Now, you can shoot on an 85mm. I think there was a guy shooting on an 85mm, but that only allows if they're at a certain distance from you. So I do think this is where your zooms are. Yes, I have my 70 200 in my bag, but I'm not massively using it. In fact, I didn't use it at all with this set. I did it in some other videos. I will say you need to have it on auto, I would say autofocus, and you need it on the continuous one so it's constantly checking. You want the whole image to be in focus, sorry, of the whole model in focus. So it's about all the garments. Now, I did mostly full bodies on this, but if you sometimes you'll be asked to do 3/4, get the detail shots, but I like the whole body thing. And it's really interesting for me. Also, I couldn't move much now to get any additional angles. Before you say, oh, you could have moved a bit, Khandie. So to the left and right immediately of me are 2 tripods. I am literally nestled in front of the font at the church. And then there's 2 tripods. One's a videographer and one's another content creator. And I cannot move. And I was told to stay in this spot. My bum went nuts. I'm going to tell you, right? Make sure also, please make sure your phone is on silent. Somebody's phone rang halfway through the show. This is so not good. And it is genuinely recommended that you wear dark tones. One, because Studio Blacks is like a classic thing in photography, but and also be comfortable. You can see us here. We're literally sat on the marble floor. You are going to get uncomfortable. I was in my I did 45,000 steps this day one, 45,000 steps. So make sure your feet are well taken care of, stay really hydrated. And you're in London, honey, you're going to struggle to find public toilets you can use. And it sounds really weird because you're in a city. Just make sure you go to the bathroom as and when you can. Because I was running around and forgetting things. Also, keep your gear on you so carefully. While I was out shooting some content, because everyone knows London Fashion Week's happening, because everyone knows people on their phones, they bring equipment, there were thieves out. In fact, when I came from one of the hotels, I was walking back, a young girl was taking some photos of herself, of her outfit, and some guys tried to snatch her phone. I managed to get it off them for her. But the fact is, they were out. So please keep care of yourself. One of the things I will say is get one of those really strong lanyards that goes around your body. And also make sure your camera bag is always secure. I prefer a camera bag that unzips from the back rather than from the front, if that makes sense. So when I'm wearing it, you can't get into it. It's just something to do, and I try to keep it look less like a camera as possible, so I don't have big logos on it, and I try not to carry my tripod. I do have a monopod that closes down, but I have it upside down, so it looks more like a walking stick. But just be really mindful of those little things. When you're photographing these shows, try and get 2 or 3 shots minimum of each outfit. If you can get them walking, I've done this in my other video when I talked about the Estonian fashion show. The idea is to get the front foot down if they're walking. I know it's not always possible. And sometimes you have models who are really fast posing, like you can see just here. They don't stay for long. And that could be because of nerves, the design didn't want it like that, or they're a newer model. So really think about that. You're going to have to be quite quick. The other thing I'm going to tell you now is the turnaround is super fast. Most runway shows will expect images within a couple of hours, same day. But this client got their images within an hour. Like I just chucked it out. It's done in camera. It has to be done quick. So, you don't always have to, if you're not working to a deadline. You can see that guy now. Look, see how much he creeps in. So that poor guy who was next to me didn't get a shot. So when you're doing this, think about how you're going to store them, how you're going to edit them. I try and get as much right on camera first. In fact, what was missing from this video is at the start of the video, the videographer asked me to stand in the catwalk so he could counterbalance off of me and use me essentially to prime his camera to get all his settings right. And a couple of other people then use me as the same. I don't like auto aperture. I shoot it in manual, and then because I want it to adjust, and I do the white calibration myself because that makes it easier for me going forward to do the editing really, really quick. Now, the expectation is you will get credited for your work. I always say that. They don't get copyright. I never had my copyright, but they get the right to use it. I also put it on my social media, and I try and tag and link every designer where possible. Sometimes you can't, but you've got to. I mean, some of this work was absolutely stunning. You can see here, look, these people here, we're on the floor, we're at one end of the pit, and there's another pit at the end. But what was wonderful is I got this lovely backlight, okay? And I know like it didn't have the bright lights what everyone else loved, but I really enjoyed shooting from this position. The other thing when you're finishing, Well, in fact, no, when you're starting is a good thing. Arrive really early. For me, if the show starts at 7, I'm arriving at 6. I know that you might think, oh my God, that's overkill, Khandie. And the reason is, and it's not always possible, is I want to get the arrival shots and also try and secure that spot, right? But when the show is over, don't just immediately rush out. There is a lot of people there who want pictures against the branding. They want pictures of their outfits. They want pictures of themselves on the catwalk. You can make connections here. So get those business cards out, get people talking. Obviously, you've got to do the editing. For me, as this was the last show of the night, I literally just got on the train and did my editing, and I was finished by the time I got home. So sometimes I stay in London for these kind of events, but I found out that it's actually just as quick for me to go home every three. Because of how the trains are and versus the underground, it's like less than an hour for me to get home. So it just made sense for me when I finished these shows just to get on the train home. So that's what I did. You can. I know a lot of photographers do stay in London for this, and they stay in really cheap Airbnbs, or if that's even a thing, or they match up with people. The only thing, if you are going to stay, you want that high speed internet and you want security. Okay, um, keep an eye on it. Also, set yourself. So sometimes when London Fashion Week particularly do it, you can actually add the events to your calendar and it also remind you. I do think look at that. And don't be afraid to go on LinkedIn and reach out to PR agents or reach out to the designers themselves, maybe make some friends with some models. But I hope this kind of helps you feel more comfortable being a fashion photographer because it's certainly something I've enjoyed doing. And I know for the most part, it's something I kind of fell into. When it comes to editing, you can have your own finesse, but designers, in my experience, want the images to be very much like how they are on the catwalk. So you aren't going to be here like quickly changing everything up, doing your own thing. You have to be you for me, the stylistic element is kind of not really there in Runway. It can be, but for the most part, it has to be as it is. Now, you could consider uploading them to Getty, Alamo, Shutterstock, all of those. That's another way you could possibly earn money. But I will just say, obviously, then you have to upload your press credentials, and that can slow you down. Getty is great from what I understand to upload to. I've been uploading there for years, and it seems to be okay for me. But I know some people have had problems. I don't know what the problem is. But also remember, you do need to have your press credentials for a lot of these, otherwise they won't accept them. Now, when the work is finished, this is another tip I have. Don't be afraid to share all of it. I tend to take all the images I do and chuck them into a reel and do like a fast overlay of all of it. Now, it is nice. How fast I'm shooting there, Jews. It is nice to do a quick overview of the whole images and like have them all there because people love seeing it all. So that's quite nice. But also sometimes the designers are like, hey, can I have all the images? And you make a connection that way. But I do think you need to track where your images are going. Okay. And make it very clear to them they have to credit you. But when it's all finished, like pay attention to where your images are going and how you're uploading them. For me, there are a couple of things that I see new photographers maybe making a mistake on, and that is simply because they don't pay attention to where their work is going. And also they don't tag those designers and the host of the show in. Okay. And this is how you build connections. Because I did a shoot 2 months ago for a model. She's recommended me to a friend. That's now got me into 2 more runway shows. But you don't have to go shoot the runway London Fashion Week. You can go shoot the street style. There's lots of it. But just be prepared. There's a lot of egos involved and sometimes there's a little pushing. But as ever, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I shall see you all in my next video. And follow me on Instagram because there is loads of information on Instagram, okay, about what I'm up to.